I'm super excited to be in front of you all tonight. So first and foremost, I want to give a special thank you to the ladies of Kappa Nu Omega for inviting me out. I always believe that it's a great opportunity when I get a chance to speak. So definitely thank you to you all. Secondly, I want to give a special thank you to my family in the back. They drove a little over 2.5 hours, so I'm always appreciative of their support and their love. And finally, I want to give a special thank you to God for, again, providing me another platform to use my gift. And I always believe that it is upon us, if God gives us the gift, to use the gift. And so I'm excited for tonight, and we'll just kind of jump right in. So when Cynthia reached out to me, she kind of gave me the topic, and the topic was along the lines of impactful change. And so anytime I'm getting ready to speak, me and God, we kind of go in the lab. That's what I like to call it. And we start to correlate what I'm getting ready to speak about. And so as I'm thinking about impactful change, then I start to ask myself the question, what is change? Change is the ability to become something different, something new. And so as I'm processing, then I feel God lead me to my foundational scripture that I'm going to be coming from tonight. And so if you have the Bible app on your phone, or if you just want to make a mental note, jot down Genesis chapter 1, verses 1 through 3. Genesis chapter 1, verses 1 through 3. Now, my foundational verse is verse 3, but I'm going to read 1 and 2 to give us a little bit of a context. And so it says, in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth, and the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. Verse 3, and God said, let there be light, and there was light. So if I had to give a title to my speech tonight, it's called Be the Light. When we're talking about creating impactful change, it's the light. And there's a quote that I like to use, in a room full of darkness, be the light. Then you start to wonder, okay, being the light, how do I become the light? There are 5 things that I feel that I want you all to take away from tonight in being the light. The first, you got to find the light. Finding the light gives you the context, gives you the pathway in order to go down. But then you got to ask, how do I find the light? There's a formula. If I find God, I find myself, I find the light. If I find God, I find myself, I find the light. But oftentimes a lot of people will tell you, find God. That's a very common phrase. But nobody ever really talks to you about how to find God. And the way that you find God is in the stillness. It's in the quiet. If I go back to verse 2, there was darkness, but there was quietness. God was moving in the quiet. I remember I was praying over something very dear to my heart. There was something that I was really needing to hear God on. And not too long ago, God woke me up at 2:15 in the morning. Of course, I didn't want to get up. But the thing about that, 2:15 in the morning, there's no noise. There's nothing going on. And so in that moment, not only was I able to hear God, but I was able to find myself, and I found the light. In today's world, we got so much noise. We got social media, we got politics, we got economy, we have all this different noise. And in order to find the light, I got to get quiet. I got to create quietness. If I find God, I find myself, and then I find the light. So the first thing, we got to find the light. The second, we got to discern the light. It's not just good enough to get the light. I can get the light, but that doesn't mean that I go down this path. And so there's an analogy that I like to use when we're talking about discerning the light. And that analogy is the stoplight analogy. And so many of you, you're driving down the street and you come to a stoplight. There are 3 lights on that stoplight. There's red, there's yellow, there's green. Red. If I go, I run the risk of getting in a wreck. I run the risk of hurting myself. Yellow, I may can go, I may not. I don't have enough information for sure. But green, I know that there is a clear pathway. And so as I'm discerning the light, I got to be able to figure out which light do I have. But it's not just good enough for me to discern the light. A lot of you all have organizations. A lot of you all have companies. You have employees. You have family. So if I don't discern the light, not only do I put myself at risk, I put my family at risk. I put my employees at risk. So after I find the light, I got to be able to discern the light. So we got two. The third one, I got to embrace the darkness. I remember growing up, and I'm pretty sure it's quite like a lot of you all, as a little kid, I was afraid of the dark. And the reason being is because I couldn't see. I couldn't tell what was over in the corner. So I thought. But embracing the darkness, embracing the failure, embracing the falls, embracing the pit stops, I got to learn how to embrace the darkness. To a certain extent, darkness is okay. Before there was light, there was darkness. So that lets me know that to a certain extent, it's okay until God brings me the light. But if I sit there long enough, if I allow myself to be calm just enough in the darkness, to a certain extent, I can see anyway. I may not can dictate or see clearly, but I can see. But there's a command in verse 3. So if I'm ever confused, if I know God led me to this business, if I know God led me to this marriage and it's dark, there's verse 3, there's a phrase where God said, let there be light. And if we are created in his image, we got that command as well. And so if I'm in my business, if I'm in this community and it gets tough on me, I know God led me here. I know God provided this opportunity for me. God, let there be light. God, provide me the wisdom, provide me the knowledge, provide me the insight in order to get out of this darkness. So we got to find the light, discern the light, embrace the darkness. The fourth, I got to master the light. Not too long ago, I was walking out at Craighead, and I have this conversation with God often. I know he's tired of me, but I said, God, how can I get to the next level? How can I get my businesses to the next level? And one of the things he said, you're already at the level that you were currently asking for. But that's a conversation for another day. But he said, in order to get to the next level, you got to master where you currently are. Too often we're trying to be impactful and we don't know what the hell we're talking about. I don't know enough information about my own business, my own processes, my own systems before I go out and try to become impactful. So I got to know what I'm doing. I got to master what I currently have if I want to be the light, if I want to shine, because if I don't, I'll run the risk of misleading somebody. I run the risk of leading somebody into the dark when I'm trying to take them to the light. So I got to find the light. I got to discern the light. I got to embrace the darkness. I got to master the light. And then the last, I got to ignite the next light. It's not just good enough for me to keep the light. It's also not good enough for me to just stop. In verse 3, after God created light, he kept going. And so it's up on me, it's up on us to ignite the next light. But there's a demonstration that I want to show you all and what I mean by igniting the next light. So if you can pull out your phones. Everybody should have it on your phone. If you could go to the flashlight. Now the importance of me igniting the next light. I found my light. I know what I'm doing. And so now I help my brother. I help my sister ignite that next light. And then they go on and then they ignite the next light. But the important thing is that just because I find my light doesn't mean I won't lose it. It doesn't mean I won't fall. Jesus said in this life, you will have trials and tribulations, but fret not because I've overcome. So if I fall, maybe the light that I ignited will help me get back up. Will help me find myself, knowing that it's continuing on helping other people. So after you find the light, after you discern the light, embrace the darkness, master the light, it's up on you, it's up on all of us to ignite the next light. And so if I had to leave you with something on tonight, is just to continue to be the light.